So tonight is going to be a little bit different. I kind of reached out to the group to see what value I could offer, and Milad threw the challenge out, which is to share some mindset stuff. And so I thought, okay, I'll share a idea that I've had for a while. And basically what I'm going to do tonight is kind of give some insight into my mindset around what I think really helps me stay focused, stay motivated, stay inspired, produce more, as well as then also being, I guess, someone that can kind of see through the perception of my clients and guide them in the right way and kind of coach them. So tonight is about giving you some insight around maybe some of the sources where I've learned some of these things, but then kind of condensing it down, talking about the mindset, and I'll kind of unpack some of it around why this particular principle is so important, how I use it on a day-to-day basis. And so you should hopefully be able to see my screen. It should say the core principles to improve mindset. Can you guys see that? Just thanks, Lisa. Thumbs up. Awesome. All right. So there's not too many slides to go through, but I'm going to kind of unpack them as we go through. And basically what I'm going to be doing tonight is sharing lessons in what I'm kind of calling condensed wisdom from 24 individual books. And so, I'm happy for this to be really interactive. So if you've read a book and you've learned something else from the book that I haven't kind of covered, or you've got any questions about any particular books as I go through it, or any principles or anything you'd like to know, feel free to either type into the comments or put your hand up and I can, throw to you and we can kind of talk about it. But let's jump straight in, because I want to honor and respect each of you for being here now, and anyone that comes late, they can kind of catch up. All right, let me just get this out of the way. So the first one I'll talk about is the one thing. And the one thing is something I now use on a day-to-day basis. And I wouldn't say I consciously use it. I don't kind of go to the book anymore and use it, because there are some personal growth books or some productivity books, any type of books out there that probably could be condensed down into maybe like 2 or 3 core ideas. And that's what I'm going to do tonight, is kind of share with you some of the core ideas from these books. For the one thing, perhaps the most powerful lesson I gained from that was that strategically we need to decide on the one most critical thing that we need to focus our efforts on. And so each day, I wouldn't say each day, and again, I want to be really clear with you guys and transparent. I'm not perfect at this, but majority of the days, I would say probably 4 out of 5 days a week, I do this. And if not 4 days, 3 days, the majority of my time I'm doing this. And that's a principle I'll come to later on. But again, it's not about perfection, it's just about progress. But most days, most mornings, what I will do is very quickly, I'll spend like 5 minutes just kind of seeing what I've got on my plate and going, okay, if I could only get one thing done today, what's the most important thing I need to get done? And it's really looking at those big ticket items, the things that are really going to move the needle forward in your business, in your life, in your health, in your relationship. I know that there's some critical things I need to get done in my relationship every day in order to make my wife feel loved, to fill her love tank. So I apply this one thing to my wife, because I'm busy. I don't get to. It's not that I don't get to. I choose not to spend 8 hours trying to fill her love tank. I probably have pockets of 10 minutes here and 5 minutes there, and especially our daughter as well. So I apply this one thing approach, which is, and it only takes me probably 5 minutes, not even perhaps that, but it's choosing the one thing, and it's going, okay, you might have enough time to get 10 things done, but if you only had time to get one thing done, what's that one thing? And that is the most important thing for you to get done that day. Now, we all have a circadian rhythm, and a circadian rhythm infers that every 24-hour period, we go through a certain rhythm where things happen only once in that 24-hour period. And statistically, what's been shown is that most people perform at their peak cognitively and with their focus and with their awareness from around, I think it's about 9:30 in the morning through to about 12. So 9:30 to 12. So during 9:30 to 12 p.m. is when I am inserting my most important critical task that I need to get done. I may not finish it, but I'll get some movement in it. So I'll get some progress on it. And what this prevents me from doing is getting caught up just being busy. There's the whole busy paradox where we're so busy that we don't have time to stop being busy. You know, I'm too busy being busy, so I don't have the time to develop a system that's going to stop me from being busy. So I just stay busy. And part of understanding the one thing is you need to accept you cannot do everything. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And so it's about accepting a certain degree of chaos is going to happen because some things aren't going to get done. But there are just some things that just will not get done. And I have to be okay with that because I need to get my higher value tasks completed. So that's the one thing. The next one is the Untethered Soul. And this is really powerful when by the time I read this book, I had probably done over 10 years of personal growth. I had trained 800 practitioners, master practitioners, a whole bunch of different people. By this point, I probably had about 200 students in the E-Hypno program. So I'd done a lot of training. I'd done many, many courses. But what I found really profound about the Untethered Soul was just the way it kind of explained it, gave a different perspective around consciousness and how we have emotional disturbances. And I never kind of heard that term before. With all my training I've ever been involved in, I've done psychology training before. I was the only non-psychologist in a room. I wasn't the only one, my wife as well. The two of us were the only non-psychologists in this training program that we spent thousands of dollars on. So we've done a fair amount of training. But just hearing about the whole emotional disturbances, and before I kind of jump a little bit, some of the core principles from this book was that we need to allow energy to flow through us. We don't want to avoid certain things like I don't want pain, or I don't want sadness, or I don't want depression, or I don't want this. And we try to run away from certain emotions or certain focuses as well. Thoughts, we try to run away from thoughts. And so what will happen is that those thoughts tend to be persistent. It's like if someone resists you, you tend to push back harder, like you're kind of pushing back and they're pushing back as well. Whereas if you just accept that both thoughts and feelings are energy because they happen within our brain, within our nervous system can be taken out of our body and put on a table, but without energy, it's just a dormant nervous system. It's made up of cells. There's no thoughts, there's no feelings. It's just matter. But it's the energy that produces that perception. It's the energy that produces the feelings. It's the energy. Our brain becomes a mind when we have energy running through it. We have feelings that will travel through our body, but those are just energy. And so it's understanding that everything that we think and feel is energy, and energy just flows. And we don't want to avoid energy, but we also don't want to hang on to it. We don't want to go, but I need to hang on to my happiness, or I need to hang on to my productivity, or I need to hang on to my focus. That comes from like a scarcity mentality, as opposed to understanding that we ebb and flow, and it's allowing it to kind of flow through us. It's then not having emotional disturbances. And emotional disturbances tend to be when we kind of hang on to something, or we're trying to block something else. There's an emotional disturbance there. We're not accepting the true reality as it is, which is emotions come and go, thoughts come and go. Let's just let them flow through us rather than blocking them or trying to hang on to them. And another concept here was that, and this is all about, I guess, mindfulness. You could probably call it mindfulness or consciousness. And what it is, it's called the Untethered Soul, because there are some chapters in the book that I'm not necessarily a big advocate of, or I don't fully subscribe to. But really the concept here is that if you can allow emotional disturbances to flow through, you no longer have emotional disturbances. You might notice one and go, well, hang on, why am I hanging on to that? Why am I choosing to hang on to that emotional disturbance? Why don't I just let it go? Just let it flow through me. And what it does is it untethers your soul from these anchor points that are all these emotional disturbances. And what it does, it gives you this emotional freedom. It gives you this ability to go, oh, like, why am I? We are our own worst enemy because we carry all these negative energies, these negative stories, these dysfunctional, disempowering ideas about ourselves and the language that we use, and we're beating ourselves up and we're wondering why we're so sore. It's because we've got to stop beating ourselves up. And so part of that is recognizing that we are not our thoughts. I am not the monkey chatter that's going on inside my head. I am not the person that's saying, you know, Shane, who are you to be able to think you could do this? That's not me. That is just the negative radio station that's just running its mouth over and over and over. We can all have it. It's about turning down the volume of that. You may not be able to turn it off, but you can turn down the volume. And that we aren't our thoughts, we aren't our feelings. Who we are is the observer of those. So I am not even the sensations that I have. I was in here this morning and I had the door open and a mozzie bit me on the leg and it was itchy. And I kid you not, I wasn't planning on doing this, this morning this presentation. But I can tell you, like, what I thought of instantly was that sensation I'm having is not me. That I can almost like pull back into the observer version of me and disconnect from the external sensations that I'm having. And that's also a part of hypnosis when people are able to overcome pain, or they get hypnosis for surgery without an anesthetic, or hypnosis for dentistry. It's because they're able to dissociate from those external sensations. So Untethered Soul is probably my top 3 books, even though I probably read it in the last 3-4 years. And I've been reading books for 10 years or so. The next one I want to go through is Authentic Happiness. And this is really powerful because, one, it's written by Martin Seligman. Martin Seligman is kind of like the founding father of positive psychology. And so prior to the 80s, psychology was always about solving problems, solving people that are manic depressives or depression or anxiety. And if people are in the negative column, like, their life is suffering, well, that was what all psychology was all about. And then it started to turn around when Martin Seligman started to create positive psychology, which is, okay, how do we understand that there is an application of psychology that can help us go from zero, so we're not even suffering anymore, we're just okay, life's okay, to being really fulfilled. And so that really, what through his study, and again, it's all evidence-based now, is that there's optimism and pessimism, and we can either be optimistic or pessimistic. And often we are socially hypnotized to be pessimistic. But optimistic, which you might be lucky enough to automatically be, like naturally be, but it can be cultivated as well. And so it's a skill you can develop over time. When you are optimistic, there's some defining characteristics of that. And when you are optimistic, when you have an optimistic view, when something happens, and by the way, like whether you're optimistic or pessimistic, shit still happens, failures still happen, unexpected things happen, crises still happen. But an optimistic view is that this will pass. This is not permanent. So it's non-permanence. Pessimists go, my life's ruined. They apply permanence to it. Whereas the optimistic person is like, I just fucked up. Damn it. I just lost my entire life savings. Crap. I need to rebuild. Pessimistic would be, I just lost my entire life savings. Life's over. What's the point anymore? And so it's that permanence or non-permanence. Non-permanence is the optimistic part, not personal. So an optimistic person doesn't kind of beat themselves up for it. Doesn't kind of go, I'm shit. I was a fool for doing it, or I'm an idiot, or it's none of that self-judgment or self-defeating. A pessimist will take it on themselves. They'll beat themselves up for whatever's happened. And so part of that optimistic approach is don't take it on personally. I mean, yes, we know that it was our decision. You go, oh, God damn it, that was a shit decision. But we're looking at, okay, let's move forward. Let's make sure the next decision's better. And then it's narrow relevance. Narrow relevance means that, again, with a pessimist will go, oh, I just spilled coffee on myself. The rest of the day is screwed. And so what they do is they go, well, because I made a mistake with my coffee, because I spilled coffee on myself, I'm going to apply that to my entire day and go, well, my entire day is ruined. So what they do is they don't isolate it to that moment. Whereas an optimist or an optimistic view will go, oh, I spilled coffee on myself. You know what? Okay, tomorrow I need to be more careful with my coffee. But they go on the rest of the day. They're like, you know, how do I make the next 5 minutes the best day of my life again? And so they really kind of isolate the failing or the suffering or the crisis to be have a small, I guess, application. So it doesn't have a wide application to everything. It's just, okay, it just affects this one thing. It's not about me personally. And this is not permanent. The next time I do this, I'm going to kick ass. And so that's that optimistic view you want to really try to cultivate as much as possible. Now, part of it is about having the awareness to catch yourself out, because we all have tendency to be pessimistic. We all have a tendency to kind of be poor me and be a victim and that sort of thing. What they also found through the studies is that by overcoming a struggle, that is actually what creates fulfillment and meaning. And you guys have probably heard me talk about this a lot. You've been on a number of calls with me. So kind of talk about when you climb to the top of the mountain, the reason why climbing to the top of the mountain is so fulfilling is not just because it looks amazing once you get there. It's because who you had to become in order to get to the top. It's because you now know that you didn't quit the 25 times along the way that you felt like quitting. You know, you're getting towards the top, you're like, I don't know if I can be bothered doing this. Like, my legs are hurting, I don't know, I'm gasping for air. Is it even going to be worth it? Maybe I should just be happy with this place. Yeah, and so it's when you get to the top that you reflect back and you go, that's what made it worthwhile. That's what makes it sweeter. And I can tell you, like, building your own online business, it's hard work. It takes effort. And often when you're doing it for the first time, you're clumsy and you're uncertain and you make mistakes and it's rework. And I know, speaking to Lisa, I know Lisa is going to choose to do her video again. And I think she said it's like the 10th take she's had. It sucks. It sucks. It's hard. You feel like quitting. Totally get it. I've been there, been through it many, many times. And I will continue to go through it. It's not like you become inoculated to it. There's no vaccine you can get that just makes you, no longer have these pits of despair or these, questioning, am I doing the right thing? Is this even going to work? But it's hanging on to your vision. It's hanging on to your vision, and it's overcoming those pits of despair, those abysses, those moments of weakness. That's really where you get the true value in your life. That's the treasure. That's the personal treasure. There's a book that I haven't included here, which is The Alchemists. Great book. I ran out of time. I was trying to put this together in about an hour and a half. But yeah, The Alchemist, the main concept of the book, The Alchemist. Have you guys read The Alchemist? Like just type yes if you've read The Alchemist. Just let me know if you've read The Alchemist before. Well, The Alchemist is all about, basically, without kind of ruining the story, it's about finding your treasure. And then the main character recognizes or eventually realizes that his treasure was with him the entire time. It was within him. It's his own personal treasure. And that's kind of the concept here, but more so not just some written story. This is actually based on the science through positive psychology that you will be more fulfilled. You will be more fulfilled in your life when you hold on to your vision and you overcome those moments of weakness. And what they've discovered is that by doing so, it gives a sense of happiness and joy to those moments of suffering, because those moments of suffering mean something now. They're not just random, indiscriminate moments of suffering where you're like, oh, I can't believe that happened to me. And it has no meaning, has no purpose, has no value. It's really about reframing it and seeing it from a different perspective and going, hang on, that suffering gave me something. There was value in that. And so they found that happiness, being optimistic, causes more productivity and a higher income. It's not the higher income that makes them happy. It's the fact that they're happy on the way, and that's what allows them to show up more, working for a place of passion, doing their best work. And when you do your best work, you're adding huge amount of value to people. If you add huge amount of value to people, you receive value in return. Let's go to the next one, which is influence. I'm just looking at the time. I'm not sure I'm going to get through all of them, so I might have to try and rip through them. Influence. This is really powerful in terms of business and promoting your services. I know that sometimes the word influence, some people think, oh, it's a dirty word. Again, that emotional disturbance. Some people have an emotional disturbance to the word influence. Some people have an emotional disturbance to the word persuasion. They have emotional disturbance to the word sales. Again, just their energy, let them flow through you. They're just words. They're just words. It's really how they're used. It's how it's used and whether it's used for good or not so good, whether it's used ethically or unethically. And so in the book written by Robert Cialdini, basically what it is understanding that there are 6 science-based steps that create influence, that create persuasion. The first one is likeness and trust. And again, that's why when you're creating your online business, we're really talking about sharing your 0 to hero story first. And it's free. So you're sharing that to develop a connection with your audience. That will tick that first one off. So people need to like you and they need to trust you. If they do that, then there is some degree of persuasion that's going to happen. They're more receptive to whatever you've got to say. Number 2 is commitment. And this is where you're going to seek commitments. And when people make a commitment, they tend to be consistent with their commitments. So if you ask for micro commitments first, you can build into a larger commitment. Just by saying, hey, enter your email address for this free training is a micro commitment, because you're asking them to engage with you. You're asking them to still give you something. They're not giving you money, but they're giving you their contact details. And so that's a micro commitment. And then you're going to go further. You're going to ask for more of their time. That's another micro commitment. There may be another micro commitment. And then finally, they'll stay consistent with it. A certain degree of consistency will build up here to a point where they will want to go further. They will just go, and then you'll go, okay, well, now book a call. And so they've been saying yes, 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 yes in their head to the next thing that you offer them. And then you say, well, book a call. And they're like, yes. And then if it's a good fit, this is not like mind control. It doesn't convince someone that's not a good fit. But if it's a good fit and it makes sense, and you say, let's work together. Let me help you achieve that thing that you're after. Then that consistency and that commitment will likely continue. So that's that second one. Third is reciprocation. And reciprocity is like a fancy way of saying it. So when you give something, for example, like this, if I invite you to my house for dinner, then there would be almost like this sense of pressure that you might feel, that in return, you might feel like you need to invite me to your house at some point for dinner. And it kind of works like that. It's like if I invite you to my wedding, but then you don't invite me to your wedding, it kind of feels a little bit weird. You're like, okay, I guess I'm not going to your wedding now. Because that reciprocation, that feeling of reciprocation. So when you add value first, again, it's why when you follow the system that you're adding huge amount of value. Those videos need to be high value. And I've worked with a number of people now to kind of go, you know what, we need to fix that video. That video doesn't have wow factor in it yet. It needs to have wow. It needs to be like wedding wow factor. It's like, I invite you to a wedding. It's a big fanfare thing. You're like, wow, thanks, Shane. Like, it costs $100 a head or $150 a head, whatever you spend per person, the wedding couple or whoever's paying for the wedding, it costs them to have that person show up. It costs you your time and your money to put together a free video for your audience. You want to make sure it has really high value content in it, so that when they hear it, they're like, wow, that's amazing. This person that I'm listening to, I feel like I'm getting too much value from them. And so now they kind of feel like they want to give value back. Now, it may not even be a conscious thought. So a lot of these influences happen in an unconscious way. Consensus about social proof. That's where, again, if you go through the system, you'll see that we've got certain points where we talk about what's the proof that it works. What's the proof, your case studies? Who have you worked with previously? Because all of that builds up that consensus. The consensus is that you're credible and you can get the job done. In fact, I gave some feedback to some random on the internet, on Facebook. I'm always kind of curious who's doing what. And sometimes someone said, I've got this thing, and if you're interested, PM me. I'm like, yeah, cool. All right, I'll PM you. So I said a PM, and they sent me this document. And I was reading it, and it didn't blow my mind. It wasn't wow factor sort of stuff. Reading through it, and at the end it says, now book a call with me, and we'll help you with this thing. And he happened to be online. I was messaging, hey man, thanks for that thing. Saw some value in it. Like, I'm pretty much doing that anyway. Blah blah blah. I said, oh look, you're open to some feedback. He said, yes. I'm like, great. Okay, well, look, I don't know who you are. To me, you're just some random dude on the internet that sent me a document, and then you're asking me to book a call with you that you can solve my problem. I said, there's no testimonies in there. There's no case studies. I've got no idea whether you're just some random on the internet or whether you've been doing this for 10 years. I said, so, it's not compelling for me to book a call with you. And he's like, oh yeah, okay, thanks for that. And he's like, I'm working on it. So what it showed is he is quite new. He's quite new, and he doesn't have those case studies behind him. But good on him for having a go. So that's an example where he didn't have consensus there. So I wasn't compelled to book a call. If it said, I've helped this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, I'd be like, okay, cool. All right, I'll book a call. Let's do it. Even though the content wasn't really blowing my mind. But again, why would I book the call? Commitment. Because I was going to be consistent with my commitment. I said, yes, send me a thing. Okay, yeah, okay. Well, I'm curious to see what else you can show me. And so, I fall for this as well. When I say fall for it, it affects everyone. It affects everyone. Maybe some neurodivergent people may not quite work with exactly the same way, but majority of the population will work this way. So you've got consensus. That's social proof. That's the credit, not the credibility. That's the proof that what you say is true and that you can deliver on your promises. Number 5 is authority, and that's the credibility and the prestige. We talk about that in the hypnosis steps, where you never want to let people know that you've made a mistake. But it's also upholding your own credibility and prestige. I've given feedback to some people when they've been doing their videos that they can kind of see that they're reading along the edge because their eyes move from left to right. And I'm like, you're going to lose some credibility there because it looks like you're reading off the screen. I gave Haley some feedback, who just posted in the group, I think tonight. If you want to see how it's done, go check out Haley's. You can still you can see a little bit of her reading, but she does really well in terms of she turns her head to the side and she makes all these gestures and she closes her eyes while she's still reading off the screen, because she's probably done it a few times by now. I know that. Like the first time I do the script, I'm like, hi, my name's Shane. How are you? Today I'm going to talk to you about, that's my first take. It's crap. I have to get to like 3 or 4 takes before I'm kind of in flow and I kind of know what's happening now. And I can go, and then there was this moment and I can shut my eyes and look away. And then I can come back and know that I'm not missing anything. So it's all these little finesse points that keep the illusion. The illusion needs to be maintained that you aren't reading, even though you are reading off a screen, even though you are using a teleprompter, it can't look like you are. And so you really want to kind of scrutinize your own sort of delivery. And by the way, here's a tip. When you are using a teleprompter, make sure you're back a certain distance, because you won't see the eyes kind of dart left or right. If you're up close, you'll see the eyes quite a lot. but back a little bit, it won't look so bad. Because you can always zoom in. Even if you think, oh, geez, it kind of looks like I'm on the other side of the room, you can zoom in post-production. But what you can't do is you can't zoom out once you're really close like that. So it's all about the authority. It's about demonstrating that you are an authority. You need to know your stuff. You need to sound like you know your stuff. You need to kind of know your content as well. So part of this is making sure that you have that, I guess, knowledge base to work from. And then there's scarcity. Scarcity comes through, I guess, economics as well, which is supply and demand. When something is in low supply, the demand goes high, and the price goes through the roof. And so people value what they can't grab or what is not in high supply. And so you want to make sure that this kind of comes into, and again, there's another great book, which I didn't get time to put into this presentation, called How to Pitch Anything, and talk about frames. One of the frames is a power frame. The power frame is that you, as the expert to your system, to your program, to your training, whatever it is, you get to choose whether people join or not. It's not them. If they say, yes, I want to join, that doesn't mean they're joining. That means they just want to join. You get to stop them or let them in the door. And so it's you want to really kind of highlight the scarcity in what goes on in what you do, because if you can make sure it's and there's different forms of scarcities. There's time urgency. So you've got 10 minutes to get this done. Another one could be number of scarcity. So it could be, okay, I'm only accepting 3 people. Could be, I guess, another time scarcity could be, look, there is an opportunity right now, but this opportunity won't stay open for very long because the world's going to change and you need to get in front of this today. And so, you can create some scarcity that way. Scarcity is the 6th science-based step to persuasion. You put all those 6 together, you'll have a really good framework for ensuring that you have the maximum persuasion and impact in your sales presentation, in your videos, just in your general communication. Because when you are trying to work with a client, you are with hypnotherapy, you are influencing them. You are influencing them. You are persuading them to find an inner resourcefulness within themselves. So please don't think, oh, this is just for sales. It's not. It's for every interaction that you have where you are trying to convey a message to someone in a way that's going to empower them. Hope this is all making sense. Is this valuable so far? You guys getting some value from this? Thumbs up, type yes, let me know. Yep, thumbs up, awesome. Thanks, Lisa. All right, let's keep going then. Another one, and this kind of builds onto the one thing, is Deep Work by Newport. And it's a really powerful productivity book. It was actually the first book that I created, Booknotic. Some of you may know that I set up a kind of a startup last year called Booknotic, where we summarize books in a hypnotic, super learning way. And Deep Work is where it started, because I thought, I need to do deep work on deep work. I really wanted to kind of embrace it even better. And so the first version of the Booknotic Deep Work track that's there, it's still its original form. I created that just for me. Booknotic didn't even exist then. I wasn't creating it thinking I'm going to create a whole service from this. I just thought, I want to take in this book better. I want to do it in about 20 minutes. I know hypnosis. What if I take the concepts of the book and put it into hypnosis? That'll do. And I did it for myself and got some great results, loved it. And then I shared it out to a few people. In fact, I shared it into the E-Hypno group. And a whole bunch of students got value from it. I'm like, wow, okay, maybe I should do this for more books. And that's kind of how it all started. Put that tangent to the side. The concept of deep work is to remove all distractions. And that is that we have so many things around us that distract us. We have notifications. Our phone wants our attention. It's like, beep, or you just got a message. Beep, you just got a like on Facebook. Beep, someone just messaged you on TikTok. Beep, here's an alarm that's going off. Beep, your Candy Crush is calling you. Whatever it is, our phone wants our attention. The internet wants our attention. Social media wants our attention. Marketers wants our attention. Our family wants our attention. Our bosses, our clients, everyone wants our attention. What we have to do, if we truly want to do our best work, our most valuable work, is we need to reduce distractions. We need to create an environment where we can do deep work, because modern life has actually trained us to think in a shallow way. We're like, ooh, squirrel, we get distracted. You know, this is why I still have a slight moral dilemma with things like TikTok and reels, like Instagram reels, and all these things that are getting like super fast, like 3 minutes here, 30 seconds there, a minute there, because it's actually training us to be stupid. It's actually training us to not be creative. It's training us not to focus very well. All those things are conditioning us to not have the ability to focus for what the studies have shown, 45 minutes to 90 minutes. It takes 45 minutes to 90 minutes to really get into your strides, to do your best work, to really kind of think through the entire problem that you're trying to solve. And so often what we do is we get caught up doing shallow work. I'll answer this email. I'll respond to that. And look, it is a daily battle. It is a daily battle for me. I have not mastered it, but I have the foundation. I have the fundamentals, and I keep coming back to those fundamentals. And I have a number of tools at my disposal that helps me do that. So that's the power of deep work. Deep work is something that I do. My wife and I, we have this agreement that when I go into the office and I'm working, she knows I have certain deep work moments, and she helps me protect it. She tries to, stop my daughter from running in, and stop, the dog from running in, and all these things that could just be random and distracting. So I have a team of people, well, not really a team, it's my wife typically, who kind of blocks some of the distractions. I don't pick up my phone. If you call me on my phone, I tend to not pick up unless you have scheduled a call with me. So I don't really pick up random phone calls. Even if it's someone that I know, I'm like, you know what, my deep work is more important. My one thing, which is the most critical thing I need to get done today, so they kind of lay it together, I'm going to do deep work on my one most important thing, and I'm going to get some progress happening for it. Now that kind of rolls into Indistractible, which is a similar type of concept, but Nir was involved in developing all the social, well, not all of them, I can't remember which ones now, but I think it was Facebook or Instagram was one of these big ones. And he wrote another book called Hooked, where he's gone through the science of why they're so addictive. He's written another book, of course, which is now how to not be addicted to them and how to kind of uncouple yourself from social media addiction. And it's Indistractible, which is we want to time block our most important tasks. You will still want to be distracted, or you need to allow yourself to go to what one of my mentors calls Distraction Island. You want to go to Distraction Island, but you don't want to just go there all the time. And you don't want to go there randomly. You want to schedule when you go into Distraction Island. You schedule that in. And so what you tend to do, and this is like the Pomodoro Technique, if you ever heard of that before. Pomodoro Technique is usually you work for, I think it's roughly about 25 minutes, and then you chill out for 5 minutes. Work for 25, chill out for 5, work for 25, chill out for 5, something like that. That's the Pomodoro Technique. Pomodoro meaning tomato in Italian, I think it is. Don't correct me. Don't let me know if I'm right with that. I don't speak Italian. But yeah, so Indistractible is about, let's time block it and schedule the distractions so you can actually still distract yourself. And I tend to do this. I'll do a solid 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on what I'm doing. And then I'll go inside and I'll go hang out with my family or do something random, whatever I need to do, check whether I need to respond to someone, and then get back into deep work. I usually have three deep work sessions throughout the day, depending on what's going on. But that's kind of, I'll have one in the morning, sometimes 2 in the morning, depends on what's going on, and then probably 1 or 2 in the afternoon, again, depending on where I can kind of shift some things, where I've got meetings that are going on. And so Indistractable's a really good book. One of probably the key distinctions to understand from this is it's actually not social media. Social media is not the problem. The phones are not the problem. The real problem is how we deal with our own discomfort. When we get bored, when we're procrastinating, when there's some sense of discomfort that we feel, we go, you know what, I need to be engaged, or I need some entertainment, or I need a hit of dopamine right now. I'll pull out my phone. What's on social media? Let's scroll. Or, it's that discomfort. It's the first step is recognizing discomfort, going, hang on, I feel the need to pick up my phone right now. Or I feel the need to go check my Facebook messages. And then just recognizing it, going, hang on, let's just surf the urge. Let's just spend 10 minutes with this feeling. And in 10 minutes time, if I still feel the need to do it, then maybe do it. And 99 times out of 100, when you do that, 10 minutes goes by and you're back into doing work. And so there's just a few really good concepts like that. And this is really powerful stuff, because if you do not know how to be productive, you're going to struggle to create your own business. There's certain areas of life that if you can master them, or you can at least be on the journey to getting better at it, and you really do, it's important to know. Like 10 years ago, I realized it was important for me to learn how to learn. School didn't teach me to learn. School just taught me stuff. And I realized early on that, if I could learn how to learn, I'll learn better, which means I can do things faster because I can learn things faster. Another one is, learning how to be productive, going, okay, what are all the techniques and the processes that can allow me to be productive? Because if you want things in your life, it's about producing. And the more you can produce, the more value you're going to be able to give to people. I was coaching someone the other day, and they're like, how do I make money? And I said, look, I can tell you that. I said, how much money you make? He's like, I'm not making any money. I'm like, okay, so you're not making any money per week? No. I go, okay, well, I can almost guarantee that you're probably not making any offers in the last week. He goes, what do you mean? I go, well, did you make an offer to anyone for them to buy anything, like your coaching program, a service from you, a widget, anything? Like, did you make an offer in any shape or form? He goes, no. Yeah, that's why you're not making money. So you cannot make money if you're not making offers. And so, part of it is about you need to produce offers. Sometimes you don't need to have the program built in order to go sell it. You just go, okay, what is the most important thing I need in order to make money right now? You just need to know what you're going to do. I know, with the first E-Hypno client I got, the first student in the E-Hypno program wasn't designed, like I hadn't done week one. Week one wasn't recorded. I just knew what it was going to be. And I went out and I wanted to check, and this comes from startups. And again, that's probably another great book I could have included, The Lean Startup, is that you want to test the market. You want market validation as quickly as possible. You don't want to invest, like startups are not going to invest thousands of dollars to design something, to release it, and then find that no one wants it. They're going to build what they call an MVP, minimum viable product. Build the minimum viable product, test the market, see if it can monetize. If it monetizes, go, great. All right, let's further invest in it. Let's build it now. Same sort of thing is you don't want to build everything. And I know I've given feedback to a number of students where they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start recording week one. And then I'm like, oh, before you do that, like, how long is that going to take you? Oh, it'll probably take me 2 weeks. Okay, so you're going to invest 2 weeks of your time and still not know whether anyone's going to buy it yet. Go sell it first. Go get it monetized. Once it's monetized, then go build it. Build it, because you only need week one, the week that you release it. That's the most critical time frame that you need week one to be ready by. You don't need it to be ready now, especially if you're not going to release it until the 1st of June. Don't build that part yet. So this comes back to the one thing, which is, are you making decisions strategically? Are you actually looking at things correctly, or are you just going with what is like an illusion of work and progress, but you're not actually putting things in the right order? And then I'll go into Purple Cow. Purple Cow is written by Seth, a really prolific marketing author. Some people love him, some people don't love him. But basically the concept is that marketing starts with packaging and getting attention. I'll give you an example. I mean, the concept is purple cow. When you're driving along the countryside, there's black and white cow, brown cow, 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 purple cow. What? Purple cow stands out. And so you ignore all the other cows and you focus on the purple cow. So when Seth Godin first released his Purple Cow book, he actually got the book and he put it in a cereal box. And so you buy the book in a cereal box. The cereal box would say Purple Cow on it, but when it goes on the bookshelf at the bookstores, you go in book, cereal box? What? It's got your attention now, hasn't it? That's half the battle. Half the battle is just getting your attention. We're in an attention economy. And so, again, that's why my feedback to a lot of people, and in the program, we talk about you want to create an image, a diagram. I know Lisa's on the call. We worked with Lisa's diagram, and I'm really happy with her diagram. I think she is as well. Like it looks really impressive. You put that on a website, you send that out to people. Compared to everyone else's overcoming burnout programs or how to go from unfulfilled corporate woman to a thriving corporate woman, compared to all those other competitor programs out there, I would put money on it. I will put $100 down. If someone can prove me wrong, I'll give them $100 to say that majority, in fact, I'll go further than that. I'll say 75% will not have a diagram like that, will not have a showcase diagram that goes along. They'll just have a website with words and some sort of stock images of someone looking off into the sunset or whatever it is. And so, that's part of it is we need to package up things. We need to make sure it's irresistible. It builds curiosity. It has some wow factor to it. It looks unique and different. Again, in the program, we talk about coming up with the statement, which is, this is the world's only program that, and you need to come up with an answer for that. What is what you're doing the only one in the world? Because if you can't come up with that, you are becoming a commodity. A commodity meaning you're just like all the others. It's just another one of those things. You don't want to be just another one of those things, especially not when you have the potential with maybe just a little bit of coaching and maybe a little bit of polishing to create something that is world-class, that stands on its own. It's like, whoa, that is amazing. That is the world's only program that does this. And the only person you can learn it from is Milad or Lisa or Adriana or Karishma or Carolyn. That's what we want to go for. And so it's about creating packaging that makes people curious and encourages them to want to know more. That's that first step. And so, really powerful book. Let's go to Made to Stick, because this kind of comes down into the content as well. Chip Heath and Dan Heath, brothers from memory. Basically, I read this book probably 7 years ago, and it changed the way I delivered my online programs. It really allowed me to understand how to take an idea and make it so sticky that it sticks in someone's head. They don't know it's sticking in their head, but they walk away and they remember it easily. And it changed their life, because it's not just stuff that they heard once and goes in one ear and out the other, or they can't remember it. They're like, wow, I remember that stuff. And so the 6 steps to making your idea sticky is make sure it's a simple idea. And I'll give you an example. Things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And that's like a core message. And I don't know if I quoted that exactly from the book, but it's something that I would say, I've said it hundreds of times before on stage and probably to you guys as well. It's a quote that I can say simply. Things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And so you want to come up with a really simple core message. If it's simple, it's easy to remember. If it's novel and unexpected. So that's a little bit novel. So things don't happen to you, they happen for you. So it's using similar language. You don't have to, it's not like, let's say it's 20 words. It's not every word is different. It's like things don't happen to you, they happen for you. So happen is in there twice. So it's a bit of a it kind of has a rhythm to it. So novel and unexpected can kind of get people to pay attention. concrete details. Again, that's why by developing some of those infographics right now, when you're scrolling through, you're like, oh, wow, this is cool. This is not like all the other text dense wall of writing websites that are out there. This is like very visual and easy and modern, and wow, this is kind of cool. So it's novel, it's unexpected. Now, that'll only happen for probably the next 5-6 years until people start catching up and then all the websites will be like that, or at least those that know what they're doing. You want concrete details. Concrete details is the specificity. It's why in your zero to hero story during your problem scene, we kind of talk about, yeah, there I was, and I sat down on the brown couch and I looked up at the blue wall. You know, brown couch doesn't mean anything to the grand scheme of things for the story. Blue wall has no relevance to the main outcome of the story. But when you bring in those concrete details, that helps people visualize. It's almost like a mind movie. They see themselves in that movie now. And again, I've given feedback to people where they, in their problem scene, in their zero to hero story video, they're like, so, you know, and then one day I was feeling really bad and I realized that life wasn't going well for me and I knew that I had to change things. And you're like, you haven't built a scene yet. Like, I don't know, where are you? Are you in the kitchen? Are you in the toilet? Are you outside? Are you in the office? Where's this scene? You haven't built a scene yet. And so people kind of sometimes overlook the power of bringing that detail to their stories and to, you know, their content and make it really sticky. Another one is making sure that you deliver the content with credibility. I was giving feedback to someone yesterday and they're like, I was saying, oh, what I think I'll say is, well, according to me, love means this. And I said, don't say that. Don't say, according to me, love means this. Because what that does is it narrows it down to me now knowing, oh, it's only your opinion. I said, what you do is you drop that first part. You say, what love means is, and you say it like it's a generalized fact. And I said, that will make you more credible because you're not pre-qualifying as, well, this is what I believe. Now, there's times when you might do that. You might choose to, but it's about doing it consciously. It's knowing when's the right time to do that and when's the wrong time to do it. And this person was potentially going to do it at the wrong time and just discredit herself or reduce her credibility. So people will remember something when it seems credible. When it's like, okay, wow, that seems like it's the truth. I need to remember that. It needs to elicit some emotional response as well. We need to, if we can kind of elicit an emotional response, it almost becomes like the glue that kind of locks it all in, locks in that memory. I mean, when you have an emotional response to something, it tends to be a memorable situation, whether it be good or not so good. And then it's number 6, that contains a story. Again, why do we tell a story in the zero to hero stories? Because if we tell it the right way, it becomes memorable. People remember that. They're like, wow, that was a really cool story. Like I know some of my mentors' stories. I know Tony Robbins' story. You know, I know most of the public speakers. I know, what is it? Janine, someone who runs Boost Juice. I saw her speak once. I've heard her story once, and I wasn't even trying to remember it, but I remember her story. I remember the situation and the scenes in her story. And that's how powerful stories can be. So please don't underestimate the power that your zero to hero story video can have on people. It might be the thing. And I remember seeing Janine speak probably 8 years ago, and I still remember her story. So don't underestimate the power of a story when delivered in the right way. I know, look, I'm not going to get through all of these. I've got 24. I've only gone through 8. Look, I'm just going to go through these last 4. And if you guys have gained some value from it and you'd like me to go through the other 12 that I won't get a chance to go through, I'll leave it up to you. Like, if you want me to do that some other time, or maybe I'll record a full video for it. That way you can go through it in your own time. But here's my deal for you. If you'd like me to do that, I'm going to ask that you do something for me. And what I'd like for you to do for me is, not now, but later on, is go to the group and just post one thing that you gain from tonight. Just one thing. What's the one? Again, just try applying the one thing concept to this which is what's the one thing you've gained from tonight so far that gave you the most amount of value. You don't have to do it right now because I am going to go through this. So this will probably only take I'm going to try and rip through this in about 5-10 minutes. But if you guys can do that, look, and if, I don't know how many people we got on here. Let me quickly see. We've got 16 people. So look, let's say if 8 of you, if I get 8 comments in the Facebook group about 8 things that stood out for you, then I'll do that. So that shows me that you guys are getting value from it, in which case I'll do the rest of these as well. Okay, so let's keep going into Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio's book called Principles. Ray Dalio, if you don't know, is probably one of the top investors, hedge fund managers. I think it's Hathaway. I'm not sure what I'm getting confused with the other big time investor. I can't remember his name now. But anyway, so it's not important. But basically, Ray Dalio is a billionaire, very, very wealthy guy. The book is not really about how to be a wealthy person. It's more about how to really understand the power of principles. And so life can be complex, business can be complex, working with people can be complex, teams can be complex, money can be complex, but it can all be simplified and therefore easier to master when you use principle first thinking. There's a book which I haven't put on the list yet, which is called Mental Models, Great Mental Models. And it's actually a mental model as well. Mental model is ways of thinking that helps you make better decisions. And so one of those mental models is principle first thinking. So this really helps us to go, we don't want to get caught in the weeds. We don't want to get caught in the detail. It's why through my training, I give you like the principle. What's the principle? The zero to hero story. Well, you have the headline, you have the intro, you then go into the backstory, you go into the desire that you had, you go into the problem scene, then the turning point, the realization, then the results, then the authority, and then into the call to action. I think from memory, I think that's pretty much it. So I teach the principles first. It's like, okay, these are the principles. This is why we do it. This is what they all mean. And I've given you like infographics where it's just giving you the principles again. Okay, just this one has 8 steps. This one has 7 steps. This one has 6 steps. This one has 7 steps. So it's all trying to be really principle-based learning. I've given you checklists for the hypnotherapy sessions. And some people, I know, I gave some feedback to someone last week because they're like, oh, I'm scripting out everything. I'm writing everything. I'm like, you're overcomplicating it. It's not designed to be scripted out. You don't want to script things out because you want to understand the principle, not the detail. Understand the principle, then you can flow through it. You can bring your own flair to it. You'll be in flow rather than in your head trying to read every single word for word. And so it's using this mental model of principle-based thinking first. So you want to focus on the principle and master these before you get lost in the detail. But then another really interesting point that Ray Dalio uses is that you want to surround yourself with people that are going to challenge what you think. He's like, you don't want to surround yourself with people that are yes people that just agree with you and just kind of pump you up. And you want to surround yourself with people that think bigger than you. You want to surround yourself with people that can do better than you. You want to be almost like the clumsiest person in the room, because what it'll do, it'll elevate you to rise to that level, but you'll also gain some awareness that maybe previously you had. So great book. It's a pretty decent sized book as well. This one I read just recently, probably in the last 6 months, I think. I read it towards the end of the year, maybe the start of this year, I'm not sure. Really powerful book, very easy to read. It's basically a collection of Naval Ravikant's Twitter posts. It's not even written by him. It's kind of condensed together by this Jorgenson guy. But if you don't know who Naval Ravikant is, and I didn't know who he was either, it was just the book came highly recommended to me. He is one of the most successful startup founders and investors. So he's invested in across like 100 different unicorn startups. Unicorn startups are what they call when a startup gets to $1 billion. So his has got to $1 billion. Many others that he's invested in have got to $1 billion. So he's a very wealthy guy, but he's perspective is quite refreshing. He's able to really condense down the complexity of life into really simple tweetables or tweets. And what he also says, he's like, I'm not tweeting for anyone else. He goes, I'm just tweeting for me. He goes, because what it does, again, it's like principle-based thinking. He'll learn something, he'll have an experience that maybe took 2 or 3 hours to have that experience, and he puts it down into a tweet. And so he's got his whole Twitter feed, which is like an account of the wisdom that he has gained. So he just synthesizes that experience into a tweet and then puts it into Twitter. So some of the really powerful things that came out of it was that a job doesn't create wealth. You need a leveraged business or invest in a business to create wealth. And I want to, and we haven't really talked about this, but by you building your own online business, and if you build in the way that I encourage you to build it, and that's not building it for one-on-one. I know some people are building they're like, I just want to build this business and I want to work one-on-one with people. That's not a leveraged business. That's a self-employed job. That is not a wealth creation vehicle. At some point, and that might be good, but at some point you might want to create a wealth creation vehicle. And for other people who kind of follow my lead around, look, let's build something that can go one to many. Because one to many means you can show up for 1 hour, just like right now. I'm showing up for 1 hour, whether there's 16 of you or 1,600 of you or 2 of you, I show up for just 1 hour. And so I have leveraged impact this way. So this program, the E-Hypno program, shows you how to create a leveraged business, because the way it works is you end up building something, and he kind of talks about that. There are 3 ways to leverage. One is with people. So you bring people into your business, but that's pretty expensive to do. And you have to manage them, you have to train them. So that means where people start running your business for you. So that's one way to leverage your business. The second way to leverage your business is through coding, so technology. And then the third way is through media. So you record video, like YouTubers, podcasters, they're all leveraging their business because it's created once, step back, they don't have to do anything with it then. So you, by creating your own E-Hypno business, if you create it in the way that I encourage you to do, which is a one-to-many approach with recorded content, then once it's set up, you don't have to do it again. Just like the expert positioning marketing system. Once you create those 5 videos, they're done, they're locked in. You may not need to touch them again for the next 2-3 years. The other thing that was just a reinforcement of what I already knew, but it was kind of explained in a more succinct way, is that the super skill is to get better at learning. The faster you can learn what you need to learn, the faster you'll get what you want. And so it's all about learning. If you can, and he says that, he's like, he didn't know this thing. And so he went and learned it. I mean, Elon Musk, whether you like him or hate him, you got to give him credit for the fact that he has set up a rocket science business, has gone beyond what NASA can do with all its funding. And he wasn't even trained as a rocket engineer or scientist. He has trained himself. He has learned it himself. And then not only that, but he's gone out and started electric vehicles and then better efficient batteries. He started off as a software engineer working in PayPal. That it had no relevance to electric vehicles. Although if you know his history, he did write, I think, a thesis in university on how to do better vehicles or better batteries or something like that. So he had a passion for it for a while, but he wasn't trained in it technically. And so he has learned it. He is very good at learning what he needs to learn in order to move forward on that next step. And there's some of this that I try to embody. It's like, okay, if I don't know how to do this, I need to bring on my inner Elon Musk and get good at learning. I'll just do these last 2. We'll do the E-Myth Revisited really quickly. Really popular book for anyone that is an entrepreneur that running their own business. Really what it's about is that just because you're good at making cakes doesn't mean you're good at running a cake business. Running a business is different from making cakes. And so it's kind of like the artist, just like doing hypnotherapy is different from running an online hypnotherapy business. They're completely different skill sets. Now we can be both, and that's what this program is designed to do, is show you how to be a successful digital entrepreneur as well as a heart-centered, talented life changer or practitioner. bring them together, that's the E-Hypnotherapist, E being entrepreneur, hypnotherapist. But it's knowing that. It's knowing, okay, we need to make that journey. We need to train ourselves in that. We also need to remember that we need to work harder on our business than we do working in our business. Because if you just work in your business, that busy paradox. You know, I'm so busy working in the business that I don't have time to work on the business. Your one thing is probably you need to dedicate 1 hour a day, every day, to working on the business. Move that needle forward. Progress, not perfection. The other part to it is that systems create freedom in the business. And so it's developing systems and going, okay, how do I systemize that so that I can then train someone up and they can take over that role? How do I systemize that? Whether it be maybe with technology now? How do I automate that so that instead of having to pay someone, I pay for someone to code it. I pay them once, and that code, that bot can now do that job for the rest of my life. And I don't have to pay anyone now. So that's the power of the E-Myth book. And then this last one, Thinking Fast and Slow. I feel like there's some people in our community that might be a little bit challenged by thinking fast and slow. And I think it's because of people's association to intuition. And look, I'm a big fan of science, and again, science only knows what science knows. So I'm not saying that science is the absolute truth for all things. But again, you just have to pick your resources and your sources of what's credible and what's not. And you know, you don't have to agree with everything that I believe in either. But like thinking fast and slow is all about understanding that we all have multiple biases that can cause errors in judgment and perception. So we can see things from the wrong perspective. We can make the wrong decisions because we're not making decisions with all the facts we think we are. We're not aware that we're actually not picking up on everything that's around us. And you may have seen some really famous cases where there's some people throwing basketballs and you have to count how many basketball passes are going on. And that's only one basketball. They're passing it, they're passing it, they're passing, you're counting the pass. And then at the end of the video, it then says, well, did you notice that thing that happened in the video? And you're like, what? That thing didn't happen. And I won't say what it is because it'll ruin it if you haven't seen it before. And they're like, no, there was no thing like that. Oh, like, surely if there was a thing like that, I would have seen it. And then they go back and they watch it, and there was something that was completely obvious to them that they should have known, but because they had, I think, what they call attentional blindness. That's right, attentional blindness. Attentional blindness is when your attention is on something, you are blind to other things around it, even when it's clearly in front of you. In fact, we have attentional blindness for our nose. We don't see our nose, even though our nose is always in our vision. Like, close your eye, close one eye and look at your nose. It's there. You can see it. You can see it, unless you have a really tiny nose and it's got a big nose. I'm pretty sure it's relevant for everyone. Your nose is always in your vision, but you delete it. You don't perceive it. And so this is an example where we can't blindly follow our intuition. We can't blindly follow, because statistically, studies have shown that people that follow their intuition often get things wrong. They are making, because our intuition is not flawless. It's not flawless. It is flawed because we do not make decisions with all the information that's at our disposal. And look, that I know that can sometimes challenge a bit more of a spiritual type of person. But look, I love my intuition. I trust my intuition from time to time. But I'm also wary that, hang on, my intuition might be wrong here. So I don't trust it blindly. I'll go, okay, my intuition is telling me this, and I'll kind of back it up with logic. I'll back it up with critical thought. I'll back it up with reason. And if both sides of my brain, my fast brain and my slow brain, agree, then I'll move forward with it. And so part of it is that we need to have the courage to see our own biases and challenge these. Because sometimes we don't like to go, oh, no, I don't think the wrong way. I think the right way. Of course you think you're the right way, because if you thought that you were thinking the wrong way, you would change your way of thinking to something that was going to be the right way, and now you think you're thinking the right way. So, I'm always, one thing that really stood out to me, and I can't remember where I heard it now, but is that I always want to stay in perspective. I realize that often I am out of perspective. I'm out of perspective because I don't have all the information. It is impossible for me to have all the information at my disposal. Actually, it comes from Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio says that he surrounds himself with people that know more than he does because he doesn't have all the information. It's just impossible for him to have it. And so it's really about gaining awareness of how others communicate through their own biases as well, so that you don't, when you hear a message from someone, you don't get pulled into that bias. You don't get overly influenced by it. So, you will either be influenced by someone or you will influence them. Someone's going to influence someone. And it's about just being aware of those cognitive biases that people are communicating through to go, okay, I know you're saying that, but I'm hearing a cognitive bias through that, or I'm hearing a bias through that, or that could be that bias, or that could be that bias. And so that's really the power of that book. It is a very tough read if it's a book that you're going to listen to. I started listening to it and I got to like the third chapter and I'm like, my mind is turned into a pretzel. There are too many facts and stats and I don't know what I'm really listening to now. So I had to go back to the hard copy. But look, it's well worth the read. It is a bit of a slog. It's not the sort of book that you can kind of read through fast. The Almanack of Naval, Ravikant, it's written in really basic, simple language. You can speed through it. It's a great book. Thinking Fast and Slow. It's probably written more from an academic perspective. Still worthwhile, but a slower read. Look, guys, I'm going to jump to the back here just to kind of showcase some of the other books I was going to go through. We're going to go through the 4-Hour Workweek, The Challenger Sale, Never Split Difference, Why We Sleep, Biology of Belief, Atomic Habits, Flow, The Practice, Building a Story Brand, Man's Search for Meaning, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Start with Why. I'm not going to take up any more time tonight for you, but if you would like me to go through those other books that I just kind of showcased then, comment in the group, let me know. If, like I said, if there are 8 or more comments, I'll make sure I'll commit to doing it. If there's not, well then, I might do it at some other point. I don't know. I might just do it for myself and put it on my YouTube channel. I don't know. But look, guys, that's it for me. I hope you got some value from it. This is me trying to give you some insight into what is like the tapestry of mindset and principles that kind of rattle around in my brain. It helps me show up in different ways, why the program that we created is created in that way and how it aligns with a lot of these concepts and these experts and the wisdom in these books. So guys, that is it from me. Have an amazing night. If there's anything you need some assistance with, reach out and we will speak again real soon. Take care.